SWOT Your Life, From Corporate Strategy to Personal Mastery by Walter Freeman. Chapter 5, Homefront Fortress, The Strategic Defense of Family. Here's what they don't tell you about family. It's not supposed to just happen. It's supposed to be built. We have this cultural myth that good families are natural, that love is enough, that blood is thicker than water, that if you just get the right people together, harmony will follow. This myth ruins families every day. The families that thrive aren't the ones with the fewest problems. They're the ones who've built systems for solving problems. They have rituals that reinforce connection. They have agreements about how conflicts get resolved. They have shared understandings of what matters and what's negotiable. None of this is automatic. It's all constructed, deliberately, by people who decided their family was worth the effort. This chapter is about constructing that foundation, about treating your family not as something you have, but as something you're building. The blended family that almost wasn't. Maria and Carlos had been married for 3 years and were on the verge of divorce. They'd each brought 2 kids from previous marriages into the relationship. When they'd gotten together, it felt like destiny. 2 people who understood loss, who wanted to build something new, who had so much love to give. The reality was messier. The kids didn't get along. The parenting styles clashed. Money was tight. The exes were complicated. And Maria and Carlos, who had been so sure they could handle anything as long as they had each other, were barely speaking. They came to me as a last resort. Neither wanted to admit failure. They'd already been through 1 failed marriage each, but neither could see a path forward. I asked them to do something unusual, to SWOT their family the way a consultant would SWOT a struggling company. Not to blame anyone, not to assign fault, just to see clearly what they were working with. Strengths. Both Maria and Carlos genuinely loved all 4 children, not just their biological ones. They had diverse cultural backgrounds that enriched the household when they weren't a source of conflict. Maria was a natural storyteller who could diffuse tension with humor. Carlos had a talent for one-on-one conversations with kids who were struggling. And despite everything, the children had formed some real bonds. 2 of them had become inseparable. Weaknesses. They'd never explicitly agreed on parenting rules, so every decision became a negotiation. They had no family rituals, no regular moments of connection that everyone could count on. Money conversations always turned into arguments, and they'd stopped having them. They had no shared understanding of discipline, which meant the kids played them against each other constantly. And they were so focused on keeping the peace that they'd stopped having any fun. Opportunities. Remote work meant Carlos could be home more often, which he hadn't been in his first marriage. A family therapy program had just opened nearby that specialized in blended families. The kids were at ages where intentional family experiences could still shape them. And both extended families were supportive and available. They just hadn't been asked to help. Threats. Without intervention, the kids would learn that conflict was normal and resolution was rare. Maria's and Carlos's jobs were both stressful in ways that spilled into home. The exes had varying levels of cooperativeness that created constant complications. And the pattern of avoiding problems was teaching the kids to avoid problems too. Looking at the quadrants, Maria and Carlos saw something they'd missed. Their problems weren't unsolvable. They were unaddressed. They'd been so focused on the chaos of daily life that they'd never built the structure to handle it. They started with one simple change: a weekly family dinner that was sacred, not optional, not negotiable, not cancelable. Every Sunday they ate together, and each person shared one good thing and one hard thing from their week. It felt artificial at first, forced even. But within a month, the kids started looking forward to it. Within 3 months, they were volunteering to help cook. From there, they built more structure. They created explicit house rules that both parents agreed to enforce identically. They scheduled regular one-on-one time between each parent and each child, not just their biological kids. They started a family savings jar where everyone contributed and everyone voted on what to do with the money. They even created a family fun committee that rotated monthly, giving each child the power to plan an activity. 2 years later, Maria and Carlos weren't just together, they were thriving. The kids had become a genuine sibling group, not four strangers sharing a house. The conflicts hadn't disappeared, but there was a system for handling them that everyone understood. The family had been built, piece by piece, deliberately. That's what a family SWOT can do. It shows you the raw materials you have and helps you build something from them. Ubuntu and the garden. Halfway across the world, in Johannesburg, a different family was using the same framework with different materials. Tandy and Sipho were facing challenges that would have been unimaginable to Maria and Carlos. 27% unemployment in their country, rolling power blackouts that disrupted everything, children who faced violence just going to school. They didn't have the luxury of family therapy programs or remote work flexibility. What they had was each other, their extended family network, and a cultural tradition called Ubuntu, the philosophy that humans exist through their connections to other humans. Their SWOT looked different. Strengths: a large extended family network where everyone helped everyone. A small vegetable garden that supplemented their food budget. Tandy's skill at stretching money farther than seemed possible. Sipho's ability to fix almost anything. And the children's resilience. They'd learned to adapt to circumstances that would overwhelm kids from more stable environments. Weaknesses: tight budget meant one emergency could cascade into crisis. Limited access to technology put the kids at an educational disadvantage. Their neighborhood was unsafe in ways that constrained everyone's freedom. And they had no financial cushion. Everything they earned went immediately to survival. Opportunities: a government program was offering small grants for micro-businesses. Their neighborhood had a thriving informal economy where trust mattered more than capital. The garden could be expanded, and their church community was looking for ways to support members who wanted to build something. Threats: the economy was unpredictable. Crime was always a risk. The children could fall into patterns that led nowhere. And without some change, they'd stay exactly where they were forever. The insight that emerged was subtle but powerful. Their Ubuntu network, the extended family and community ties, was their biggest asset, and they weren't using it strategically. They were treating support as something you received when in crisis, not something you could build on proactively. They expanded the garden and started selling surplus to neighbors. They formalized a childcare arrangement with extended family that freed Tandy to work more hours. They applied for a micro-grant to buy supplies for a food stand. And they created a family goal that everyone could see, saving enough to move to a safer neighborhood within 3 years. It wasn't easy, but it worked. The food stand became profitable, the savings grew, and 2.5 years later, they moved. The kids started at better schools. The cycle began to shift. The SWOT didn't give them resources they didn't have. It helped them see the resources they did have and use them more effectively. Your family SWOT. Whether your family is 2 people or 20, biological or chosen, under one roof or scattered across continents, the same framework applies. You have strengths to build on, weaknesses to address, opportunities to pursue, and threats to prepare for. For strengths, consider: what bonds hold your family together? What do you do well as a unit? What traditions or rituals strengthen you? What skills or resources do different family members bring? What have you survived together that proves your resilience? What do you genuinely enjoy about each other? For weaknesses, consider: what conflicts keep recurring without resolution? What conversations are you avoiding? What needs aren't being met? What patterns are hurting you? What's missing that other families seem to have? What do you wish you could say to each other but can't? For opportunities, consider: what resources are available that you're not using? Community programs, extended family support, professional help? What changes in circumstances could you take advantage of? What could you do together that you've never tried? What's getting easier that used to be hard? For threats, consider: what could stress your family to the breaking point? What external pressures are building? What problems are you ignoring that might grow? What patterns are teaching the wrong lessons? What might happen if things continue on their current trajectory? Then look for the connections. Maria and Carlos found that their storytelling strength could address their communication weakness through structured family dinners. Tandy and Sipho found that their Ubuntu network could convert their garden opportunity into protection against their financial threat. Your connections will be unique, but they're there. Family is never finished. It's always being built, whether you're building it deliberately or letting it crumble by neglect. A SWOT gives you the blueprint. What you construct from it is up to you.